Hello and welcome to the Online Trainers Podcast, where we go behind the scenes to uncover the latest tactics and strategies top trainers around the world are using to get more clients, dominate their marketplace, and get their clients amazing results. There is absolutely no fluff here. I'm your host, Lynn Trim. Hello and welcome to episode number 40 on the Online Trainers Podcast. Today's topic is it's all about trust, baby. Now, whilst I drive in this cold, wet Melbourne weather when it's supposed to be spring, but I feel like there's something up with the world. I think all our seasons are starting to change and the weather's becoming very, very unpredictable, which is almost quite scary. But today's topic, let me talk to you about today's topic and why I think it's so important. It's all about trust, and you and I already know this. You and I already know this, yet there are trainers. There are trainers out there still running huge opportunity ads. These are ads where you'll market on Facebook and say, hey, I've got a huge opportunity. I'm looking for 20 guys to help get into shape. And it's unfortunately not working anymore. And why I know this is because I have had a few people reach out to me via email telling me that, in the previous years, last year's, they've been able to do $100,000, $200,000 online, even $350,000 in online personal training, all because they relied on this way of marketing. And this way of marketing really I'm just astounded to really see how people could sign up people this way. And I used it myself for quite a while, but as soon as that dried up, I needed to change. And if you don't know this style of marketing, I'm sure you must have seen the Facebook ads where really you're getting somebody to just enter their name and phone number and you're going to give them a call. You're really going to give them a call. As soon as they've seen an ad from you on Facebook, they might have seen something like, hey, I'm looking for 20 guys to get into shape, or who want to get into shape for summer. I'm going to work with you. Please enter your name and number. I'll give you a call. And that's the ad. That's a Facebook ad going and sending that ad directly to a Woohoo form, a Google Doc form, or a ClickFunnels form, or whatever, lead pages form. And why this doesn't work and why you're pretty much setting yourself up for a trap these days is because everyone else is doing them. But unless your company, unless your business currently has salespeople who can do the selling for you, you're going to be trapped in this rat race of having to do all the sales calls yourself. So you'll end up getting 100 leads at $5 a lead. But what you'll realize is then you'll have to jump on and make all these calls yourself and close people. So out of the 20 leads or the 100 leads that you get, you might get 5 to 6 good ones. So really what you're doing with this type of marketing now, because it's so commonly used, is you're looking for the needle in the haystack. Okay, this is what I call the needle in the haystack. And one of the reasons why I recommend that if you're a personal trainer looking to build a successful online multiple six-figure business, you need to focus and niche down in one area, but you need to have trust and engagement. And the best way to do that, my friends, is to get on video, okay? To get on video, which is why I recommend, as a lead magnet, as a trust builder, okay, to get people to know, love, and trust you, you need to get on video. You need to run a challenge. You need to do a video series for people to get who you are and what you do. Okay, there is one question I need you to answer today, and it is, who are you? What is your story? Okay, who are you? Who are you? Who is this person trying to jump online, especially with no name, coming out into the marketplace? You haven't spent the last 10 years trying to build a YouTube following. You haven't spent the last 10 years trying to grow your Instagram account. And that doesn't mean that you need to. Let me get this straight. That doesn't mean that you need to, but you need to have a story. And everybody needs to have a story, because if you don't have a story, you don't build any trust. Okay, so the story is something that your audience needs to understand instantly. It's not your story that you understand, because you already know your story. I know my story. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter if we know our stories, because we're not the ones paying our bills. Okay, well, we are, but our clients are. The business is paying our bills, essentially. And so that leads me to this thing called trust. And I spoke about trust on the other podcast, and I talked about why it's so important, because when you have trust, right? When you have your trust, your clients will buy more from you. your clients will buy more often. Okay, your clients will stay with you longer. Your clients will refer you more people. When you have trust, transactions will become quicker. When you have trust with your network and your marketplace and your affiliates, they will refer you clients more often. But you see, most people inside the marketplace at this very moment in time don't have trust, and most people want to make that quick sale. Trust is something called branding. Okay, your company, your business, yourself, you need a brand, and your clients need to trust that brand. They need to trust that you're the only person that can deliver for them. And if they can't feel that, if they can't trust that, then you aren't in business. You are not going to stay in business very, very long. Okay, but here's the good news. It doesn't take long to build trust. Okay, it does not take long to build trust. And so it's going back to the emails that I'm getting, and I'm sitting down in some consultations, and I'm having a look at their business model and what they're doing, and it comes down to this. It really comes down to the fact that, number one, they've just been running their ads and they've relied on this form of marketing, and when it doesn't work, they don't have a business because they haven't innovated for 2 years. If you keep on relying on the same thing, with marketing, your marketing has to change. This is the first key to marketing. Marketing needs to change. You need to stay ahead of the trends for marketing if you're going to reap all the rewards. You see, in 2013, these huge opportunity ads that I was running, I was slightly ahead of the trend. Not many had been seen, and so it was easy because the marketplace hadn't seen this type of advertising before. Fast forward 3 years down the line, this advertising is thrown left, right, and center. Our marketplace becomes smarter. They know what to expect. It becomes harder and harder to sign up clients. Okay, so rule number one of marketing, you need to innovate consistently. But rule number two of marketing, nowadays, modern world marketing, I'm not talking about sending out direct mail inside the mailbox and hoping for a snail mail to get returned. You know, if you know anything about marketing, you know that modern day marketing, yes, while it's good to try to focus on direct response, a lot of the times, especially with social media, because of the level of transparency we have in our marketplace, you need to focus more on branding. This is where you should focus on your story. This is where you should focus on building trust, delivering value in advance, okay, and becoming that trusted authority. Because if you haven't built that trust, if you're not that expert advisor, right, they will leave and they'll go elsewhere. And so this is what's happening, especially after the last 4 calls I've done, and how there are a lot of trainers coming to me now because they're being taught by business coaches who have, you know, consolidated because they've used this model, but this model is running to the ground. Okay, and I'm telling you right now, because in a year's time, this model should only be run if you have an existing email list or audience who know, love, and trust you. Then you can run an ad. They already know you. It's an easy sell. Okay, but running it to cold audience, people who don't know you, cold prospects who have never heard of you before, you're asking to start looking for a needle in a haystack, and that's not the approach that we want to take. Okay, so today's lesson, I really want to give you a lesson. I'm excited because, you know, you guys get to stay ahead of the market trends. I get to dig, I get to go, and I get to do all the pioneering for you because I get to work with some of the best in the world, but also I get to see what everyone else is doing, and I get to test stuff for myself. Okay, but today, your lesson of the day is, what is your story? Okay. What is your story? What are your products and services? And why are you doing what you do? Why are you actually helping? People want to know why, okay? And so once you start getting your story and once you start understanding your why, you should be able to explain that to your mum, dad, grandpa, grandmother, a 5-year-old, and you should be able to convince them that that's what you're so passionate about. Because if you can't convince these people, okay, the people that already know you, then how are you going to convince prospects who have never heard of you before? And so that is your task for today. And if you can develop this skill, you'll win while other trainers topple down. Okay. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode and if you're ready to step up, then please share this podcast episode with another personal trainer so that you can build an accountability team. Okay. I always say this, you are the result of your environment. And if your environment sucks, you will suck. Okay, so this is kind of Harsh Lynn coming out today because Harsh Lynn feels very passionate about these ads, and Harsh Lynn wants you to succeed, but you can't succeed if you focus on just trying to get leads and make sales. You have to go deliver some goodwill in the marketplace. Okay, you have to look at the long-term plan. So that is your task for today. Go off, please share this, and I'll see you on the next episode. Alright, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a 5-star review on iTunes and feel free to leave a review, and that way I can respond and I can take that on board in developing content to serve you. Now, if you're not a part of the Online Trainers Club on Facebook, please do yourself a favor and be a part of the conversation. That's where I add daily tips, tricks, and strategies on how you can build out funnels, how you can get more clients, and ultimately become a better online coach. Thank you for listening.